My name is Mara Solis, and until the night of October 14th, 2047, I believed loneliness was a human invention. I was 31, single by circumstance rather than choice, and the senior xenobotanist on EOS Station, a rust-red orbital habitat that circled a gas giant Mnemosyne in the 55 Cancri system. The station had a permanent crew of 12, but for the last 9 months we had been running on a skeleton staff of 4 while the others rotated home. For people in a wheel the size of a shopping mall is still too much emptiness. That night I was alone in the greenhouse ring, checking the circadian lamps on the coffee Arabica racks. The rest of the crew, Captain Patel, Dr. Wei, and Engineer Ortiz, were asleep in the hub. The only sounds were the soft click of irrigation valves and the low, endless hum of the station's bones. Then the proximity klaxon screamed. I dropped my tablet. Red strobes painted the leaves crimson. An unauthorized object had just matched our orbit at a distance of less than 30 meters. That was impossible. We were 2 light years from the nearest trade lane. Nothing matches velocity with a spinning habitat by accident. I sprinted to the nearest observation blister. Outside, framed against the bruised orange bands of Mnemosyne, drifted a ship no larger than a city bus. It was smooth, matte black, and shaped like a seed or a teardrop. No visible thrusters, no markings, no radio emissions. It simply hung there, silent, as if the universe had paused to watch. Patel's voice crackled in my earpiece. Solis report. Unknown vessel. 0 relative motion. It's just sitting there. We see it. Wei's bringing the defense array online. Do not open any airlock. I never got the chance to obey. The seed ship opened like a flower made of night. A single figure stepped out, no suit, no helmet, and crossed the vacuum as though it were a sidewalk. It stopped a meter from the blister's glass and looked straight at me. It was tall, maybe 2 meters 10, and thin in the way trees are thin. Skin the color of moonlit pearl, hairless, with a ridge of soft plates that ran from brow to spine. 4 long fingers on each hand. But the eyes, God, the eyes, were huge, liquid black, and depthless. It raised one hand, palm forward, and placed it on the outer hull. Every light in the greenhouse dimmed at once. The irrigation pumps fell silent. My wrist implant went dark. Then I felt it, a pressure behind my sternum, like someone had laid a cold hand directly on my heart. Thump thump, thump thump. The rhythm was mine, but I was not making it loud. The alien tilted its head, listening to something only it could hear. It spoke without opening its mouth. The words arrived inside my skull, gentle, curious, accented with distances I could not name. Your heart is very loud, Mara Solis. I stumbled backward. The glass between us might as well have been air. How do you know my name? I hear the shape of it in the electrical storm you call thought. I hear everything that beats. Then the station's emergency lights flared white, and the alien was simply gone, folded back into its seed ship as neatly as a shadow retreats from a lamp. The klaxon stopped. Power returned. My tablet rebooted with a cheerful chime, oblivious. Patel found me sitting on the floor among the coffee plants, knees to chest, trying to quiet a heart that suddenly felt like a drum in an empty cathedral. Middle. We never reported the contact. Patel wanted to. Wei threatened to. But the seed ship did not leave. It merely retreated to a 1,000-kilometer standoff and waited. Every sensor we had set it was inert. Every sensor lied. 3 nights later it returned. This time the alien did not walk through vacuum. It simply appeared inside the greenhouse, standing between the tomato trellises as though it had always been there. I was alone again. I had started volunteering for the midnight shifts because sleep had become negotiable. It wore a loose robe the color of deep water. The ridge, plates along its spine glowed faint indigo when it breathed. You came back, I said. My voice cracked like a teenager's. I never left. I was listening. To what? To the station. To the 4 of you. To the way your Ortiz dreams of a child he left on Earth. To the way Patel recites prime numbers when she is afraid. To the way Wei's heart skips every 7th beat because of an old arrhythmia. And to you, Mara Solis, whose heart plays a song of unfinished sentences. I should have been terrified. Instead, I felt seen in a way no human I had ever managed. What are you? I asked. We have no single name. In your catalogs you will eventually call us the Lasara. We travel by listening. Every living thing produces a chord unique to itself, species, individual, even mood. We navigate by those chords the way your sailors once navigated by stars. It stepped closer. The tomato's leaves curled toward it as if tasting sunlight. Your chord is complicated. Many minor keys. A longing that vibrates at 41 hertz. I have never heard its like. I laughed, a brittle sound. That's just clinical depression with a side of existential dread. No, it is older. It is the sound a mind makes when it has outgrown every story it was given. I had no answer for that. Over the following weeks, the Lasara, it gave me the personal name Kale, visited every third night. Always when I was alone. Always inside the greenhouse, which had begun to feel like a confession booth orbiting a gas giant. Kale never touched me, yet the air between us thickened whenever it was near. I started leaving the lights low so I could watch the bioluminescence ripple along its spinal plates like auroras. It asked questions no human ever had. Why do you grow plants that poison you? Coffee, tobacco, coca. Why do you keep images of people who no longer speak to you? When you dream of falling, why does your heart slow instead of race? And I, fool that I was, answered. I told it about my mother who sang in a language I never learned. About the fiancé who left when the long-range missions became permanent. About the way space feels like drowning in slow motion. In return, Kale told me fragments of its people. How they had no planets, only ships grown from crystal and song. How they mourned by changing the key of their own heart chords until the grief modulated into something bearable. How they considered physical touch a kind of screaming because it drowned out every subtler frequency. One night I asked the question that had been burning since the beginning. Why me? Kale was silent longer than usual. The tomatoes shivered though there was no wind. Because your cord is breaking, Mara Solis. It is becoming dangerous to others of your kind. Soon it will be dangerous to you. I can hear the fracture widening. I laughed again, but it came out wet. So you're here to fix me? That's very missionary of you. No. I am here because I am selfish. Your chord is the most beautiful thing I have ever heard, even as it tears itself apart. I want to listen until the end. I should have run then. Instead, I sat on the potting bench and cried the way you only do when someone finally names the thing killing you. After that, the visits changed. Kale began to teach me how to listen. It placed its palm a centimeter above my sternum, never touching, and showed me how to slow my heartbeat until I could feel the station's rotation as a subaudible thrum. How to hear the chlorophyll screaming in ultraviolet when the lamps came on. How to catch the faint, grieving chord of a lettuce that knows it will never set seed. In return, I taught it sarcasm, jazz from the 1950s, and why humans kiss. Kale was a terrible student at first. It tried to replicate a kiss by pressing its forehead to mine and broadcasting the memory of an entire coral reef blooming at dawn. I blacked out from sensory overload and woke up laughing on the greenhouse floor with soil in my hair. Patel noticed the change in me. Everyone did. I stopped flinching at silence. I started sleeping. The coffee plants doubled their yield. Way swore the lettuce was sweeter. Patel cornered me in the hub one day. You're glowing, Solis. Either you're in love or you've started taking happy pills. Which is it? I told her the truth. Some of it. She stared for a long time, then said, If Command finds out we have an unregistered Xeno walking through walls, they'll send a frigate. You know that. I know. Fix this, Mara. Or I will. End. The fracture Kale heard reached its crisis on the 97th night. I was waiting in the greenhouse as always, but this time I had brought a knife, an old pruning blade with a ceramic edge. I wasn't sure why. Maybe some part of me already knew. Kale stepped out of the dark between the dwarf citrus trees. Mara Solis. The song has reached the movement before the break. I must ask something I have no right to ask. Ask. Let me take the broken part with me. Not all of you, only the frequency that hurts. I can carry it into the deep where no one else will ever have to hear it again. I looked at the knife in my hand. You mean separate my depression from me like a tumor? A simplification. But yes. And what happens to the rest of me? You will still be you. Only lighter. The longing will remain. It is native to your species, but the part that poisons the longing will be gone. I thought of the years spent apologizing for taking up space. Of nights when the only thing that stopped me walking out an airlock was the knowledge that someone would have to clean it up. What happens to the part you take? I will keep it inside my own cord. I will learn it by heart. And when my people ask why my song has a minor seventh that was not there before, I will tell them it is the sound of a human who taught me that some things are worth hurting for. I cried then. Not pretty crying. The kind that heaves. Cale waited, patient as starlight. At last I asked, "Will I still be able to hear you afterward?" "No. That is the price. The knife cuts both ways." I looked around the greenhouse, my small green world spinning above an uncaring giant, and I understood that every paradise is a place you eventually have to leave. "Do it," I said. Cale stepped forward and, for the first time, touched me. Its hand settled over my heart. There was no pain, only a sudden hollowness, like a radio tuned between stations. I felt something vast and dark and familiar unspool from my chest and wind itself into the glow of Cale's spinal plates. A minor chord in a language made of pulse and electricity. When it was done, Cale's eyes were wet, an impossibility I had never seen. "Thank you, Mara Solis. Will you be okay?" I whispered. "Carrying that. I have carried dying stars. I can carry this." Its outline began to blur, the way heat shimmers above pavement. "One last thing," I said quickly. "Tell me your true name, the one your people use." Cale smiled, the first and only time, and the greenhouse filled with a sound like 1,000 cellos remembering sunrise. Then it was gone. I stood among the plants for a long time. The silence was enormous, but for the first time it did not feel like drowning. It felt like the moment after the choir stops and the echo decides whether to stay. Patel found me at dawn. She took one look at my face and put away the sidearm she had been carrying. "It's over," she asked. "It's over," I said. My voice was steady. My heart beat at a calm 72 beats per minute, and for the first time in years, it sounded like it belonged to me. Years later, when the first Lyceran embassy ship arrived openly in the solar system, the diplomats broadcast a greeting in perfect Mandarin, Swahili, and 1950s jazz trumpet. Nobody ever explained how they learned. Sometimes, on quiet nights aboard whichever station I'm posted to, I still go to the greenhouse. I place my hand on the glass and listen for a minor seventh that is no longer there. And somewhere, I hope, in the black between galaxies, an alien who once walked through walls is humming a broken human heart to sleep, keeping it warm the way I once kept coffee plants alive under alien suns. I miss the sound of its voice in my skull, but I do not miss the wait. Some silences, it turns out, are a kind of love,